I thought I'd make a walk and talk video today, give you an update on what's happening and where I've been lately. So we start off his terrace. This is his home now. He's had the good sense. Now it's turned colder, he comes in the room at night and sleeps on the chair, while Junus and Damiana are like living water bottles. So we've had some rain here last week. Torrential rain. I don't know, it doesn't show now, but down at the bottom of the valley it was a fast flowing stream, and could almost grow rice down there. So thanks to the kindness of Keith and Grow, who used to live here and may return, they've left me this fold out solar panel, which is the only solar power at the moment because the main solar panel has packed up. But I'll just show you what's been happening. Part of this reality in the material sense is his obsession with having an ID, but that reflects on knowing who you are, and not necessarily by name. I would take the idea, take any mythological character and be like a chef, and you take a little of this, a little of that, and you create something unique, something your own. It's about, as True Love channel says, about recognizing the god or goddess that you are, or in Archaix terminology, the immortal soul that you are. I'll just show you. It must be quite disheartening. My poor neighbours, they'd had a little excavator come in, made this beautiful water collection, but with that heavy rain it's just all collapsed. But what it has done is given me beautiful earth clay to work with, that beautiful terracotta, and then you've got this blue clay here which I'm using for sort of forming rock borders and things, which you've probably just seen. But what does a god or a king do? You don't go chasing, you let it come to you. So for the ballasting of the pathways and things, with the action of the heavy rain and then the movement of vehicles up and down this track, it creates a lot of smaller stones, especially on the bends. They create ridges, which then stops the water running away. So what I do, I go out with a couple of buckets and I rake up the top stuff, smooth it all off, so it helps the water run down what is supposed to be that sort of gully at the side of the road. And that ballast that I collect and the heavy rocks that I collect, hopefully you can see it because of the way the sun is now, I'm using it to create these pathways with borders and sorting out topsoil and things for making more growing beds. So you have a nice sort of walkway that also acts as a soak away for the heavy rain. So we just carry on up here. So I've added a lot of ballast to this whole section, raising it up slightly when it does rain. Noticing where it's forming puddles and things we end up having to wade through, especially with these are my special Crocs. I first started wearing them the 1st of June last year, but now I'll just show you, they've got to the stage where they have holes in the sole, so I'm always grounded when I'm wearing these. And you notice I'm still not wearing socks, but has it turned cold? So what I'm doing with the ballast, the lighter colour is applied to the top. The other stones in this and shingle and things, they're being used as a sort of lower layer. So this is a sort of first phase, got more growing going on here. This is meant to be a tank which will then have a water heater for the shower. But while that's not happening, it's like that's a compost bin, and I've got potatoes growing in the top of that. But there's an awful lot of work to do. Sorting out stones, clay soil, landscaping, creating this pathway. Oh. And a beautiful potential for another water tank. Got this storm drain, and that just needs built. This will all need rebuilding to make a water tank and harness the free rainwater, because it does get like a flowing river on this pathway, hence the putting all the stones down as a sort of ballast to make a walkway. Now the stones and the rocks have been very kindly provided by the wild boars. A few weeks ago you couldn't even walk along this path. It was just like a landslide of rocks. So I've gradually been sort of opening it all up. Oh, it's not the warmest of times, despite the beautiful blue skies and now sunshine. But wow, is it cold at night. And at present I haven't got the things I need to go and chop down the dead trees and things. And of course collecting firewood is quite a task after we've had heavy rain. But yeah, the wild boars brought all this bank down, but it's exposed all these rocks and things, so that's all beautiful. It's like, let it come to you. I don't see it as a problem. It's like, that's material I can reuse, repurpose, and create something far more beautiful. Excuse me. So that's a little tour. My plan is to sort this entire section out between now and March. I don't know how far I'll be able to get. Oh. With this time of year, it's I don't normally start doing anything till about 11:30, 12 o'clock, because it's just too cold at the moment. And then there's limited hours of daylight to contend with as well, so it's, as long as I do a little bit each day, it's getting there. But apart from that, where have I been lately? Well, apart from having to conserve use of devices because of the available solar power, I've been taking a deep dive underground. By that I don't mean I've been down into a deep underground military base, but where I have been is Archaix Underground. That's where you'll find me most active. And some beautiful subjects get posted by other members. I have some great interactions and beautiful reminders of things. That this Damiana, you can just see her head. That's what her favourite sunspot on top of this roof. This is another structure that I will have to look at rebuilding. So as always, I am also asking for donations. I do have a GoFundMe, but the money raised so far in the GoFundMe I wish to use entirely on sorting out a power bank with solar panels, rebuilding this structure, investing in what is called a Solex bike, which is basically like this push bike, but it has a little one-cylinder, two-stroke engine, so it becomes like a front-wheel drive, very economical, and it would be one less thing to have the solar power. It can be used as a conventional push bike, but that power would help for going up and down the hills and things. And then I'm also considering getting a trailer for one of these Solex bikes, so I can then go and collect more things. That would seem to be the best option. But anyway, going back to Archaix Underground, there was a post there which reminded me of a series of Guinness adverts from the late 1990s, one of which is called The Dreamer. Now, they're a very strange series of adverts. Now, for those of you that don't know, Guinness is a very sort of heavy beer, very dark, rich in iron, a bit like all this land around here. Now, I'm not advocating alcohol. Alcohol stops at that entrance on this land, and really it's like, if you've had any alcohol, make sure give yourself 48 hours if you do come to visit. Alcohol is a big no-go here, but because we do have to have boundaries and things, and my experience of drunken behaviour is not conducive to a community. And of course it is the saying is under the influence, but you have to question under the influence of what? Well, it's a demonic possession. But these Guinness adverts, there's a whole series of them. Some of them were black and white. Another good one is the Surfer. They're worthy of a decode, and I was considering doing a decode. I'm going to put a link to one called The Dreamer. But I thought this would be much more fun if we make this a group exercise. So I invite you to check out the little video. Now, you just can't make this stuff up. The duration of that advert was 1 minute and 33 seconds. Make of that what you will, but do look at that advert and tell me what you see in it. Now, when you consider Guinness is almost black, and then the head on it is white, is it some message being told to us clearly in black and white? They're very interesting adverts seem to have a lot of esoteric messages contained in them. Another interesting one is the beef extract product called Bovril. The name Bovril comes from bovine and vril. Again, make of that what you will. Sorry about the coughing. It's this cold air. There's a lot of mucus on the chest this time of year, because wow, it is cold at night now, but I can manage without that, without fires and things through it, unless it gets much colder. But I will have to consider getting firewood and things before long. But rather looking from the lack mentality, I'm looking from the visioning and co-creating of what can be done. So the first thing is go with first impressions. Let's make the entrance look welcoming. Let's have a blaze of colour with flowers and things, as well as growing vegetables, and just make the place look a lot more presentable. It's a beautiful sort of almost meditative exercise, as much as it is of using the resources you've got. I'm just trying to think, yeah, also in Archaix Underground, and I'm going to do videos on these topics. Blood type was another thing I was reminded of, and that's another subject worth doing a deep dive into. There's a lot to unpack from that. The whole idea is what I'm posting in Archaix is thought-provoking. it goes back to when I first started a YouTube channel, which stemmed from being involved in various Facebook groups. And I happened to mention about night sweats and ringing in the ears, and the subsequent comments, it's like all these people are now popping out the woodwork and are all suffering in silence. And surely the whole idea of social media was interaction and communication and talking to each other. So that's what prompted me initially to start a YouTube channel, because I went through that night sweat phase, which I concluded was the body is doing a cleansing in a sort of spiritual upgrade. And then ringing in the ears, I discussed, this was quite some years ago now, and I thought, well, maybe it's some sort of spiritual frequency, because certainly when I've been interacting through Messenger and things with different people, that ringing in the ears tone, the pitch can change in where it seems to be within the ear and in the intensity of it. And that does seem often linked with when you're talking to someone of the same blood group and when you're talking about the more spiritual things as well. But of course, like everything else in this reality, you get stories which follows the same pattern as oil. It is something taken from the earth, and then every possible use is extracted out of it. So these strange clouds and things you get in the sky, there's a lot of speculation of what they're about. These sort of things, like you can see in the distance there, all to add to that fear thing. But is it not about being fearless? And it's the same with diet. There are certain things I would avoid eating. The two most important ingredients, as I've said before on video, is that it is made with love, and also dependent on your blood type. But consider also that these physical bodies will extract what they need from whatever you consume, and they're designed and do expel what is not needed. So to put it sort of bluntly and crudely, the toilet waste goes straight onto the compost. There's no giving it to the system to have it chemically treated and then sold back to you. It's give it directly back to nature. It makes beautiful compost. You don't get the smell of shit. There's no other way of saying it, but really. But especially when it's rained, and it's what I do tip onto the compost is always covered with leaves, and got plenty of this wild clover that just springs up as soon as we've had a bit of rain. So that all makes for good composting material. So yeah, so in some ways my question to you is, if you're not in Archaix Underground, why not? It's a beautiful resource. You won't find me on Facebook or any other real sort of social interactive platform. It is a place where you'll interact with those on the same frequency. I would highly recommend joining. It's only going to cost you £5.52 or $5.52 per month. And it is certainly a wonderful resource. You'll get real information from people who live in locations, who will tell you what really is going on in real time in those places, rather than what you get in media stories. But if we just look at media stories in the sort of earlier forms of spreading stories to the masses, i.e. through newspapers, well, you've only got to look at the newspapers, what are called the broadsheets, the Daily Telegraph and the Times, those great big ones, and you'll see that the stories are in columns, because they are tall stories. That is what they're telling you with that one. But it's so easy to get sucked into the details. But you can put any picture in print in a newspaper, and you can put any caption with it and totally change what is actually being shown in the photograph. And of course, with the way media's gone, that is even more and more that way. But it does require a bit of lateral thinking. It also requires being that sort of middle ground, which we are. We are the connection between the spirit and the earth in all things as well. Part of the reason we are here, we are effectively what gives the oversoul, the creator, the ability to be all-seeing and all-knowing, because through us and through our experiences, that is how the oversoul is keeping an eye on this creation by its prodigal son. That's the way I see it anyway. So I'll put a link in the video to that Guinness advert called A Dreamer, and let me know in the comments what you interpret from that, and then I may do a summary video on that one, and the other topics I've talked about I will go back over again, because I feel there's a lot to be looked at these things, and it may spark something in you that you think, I hadn't thought of that, which then leads you on to discover something new that you can bring to the table for discussion as well. So effectively we're sort of reverse engineering everything by creating like a think tank between us of what is effectively a frequency family. That is what we are, and part of why we're all here and why we are having this experience. So with that, I'm going to say unconditional love to you all. I know there is more that I wanted to say that I've forgotten, but already this is up to, wow, was that 22 minutes? Nearly 23 minutes. So that's quite long enough, because I've got to consider uploading this and also charging devices and things and all that. But there will be more videos as and when. So thank you very much for listening, and do please check out all the links and things in the description.